Hi, everybody!
We haven't been talking about bees for half an hour.
It's only been 15 minutes. How's everybody doing? How do we start this show usually? It's Super Breakfast Friends Club!
That's how we started.
Welcome to the show where we watch cartoons and talk about them.
It's a great time for everyone, unless it's not.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Mel.
Whoa, I think that's the first time you've ever said that.
I think it is. I really debated going for it. I was like, it has to be the one. It's one of these times and then never again.
TwinBee.
It's a game I didn't know existed.
I knew it existed in the vaguest terms. Play the opening!
You know, I actually went and I played a little bit of this after we decided we were going to do the episode.
Oh, really? I didn't.
I did. Yeah, because I love a shmup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no good at them, but I was like, that's a thing that I enjoy. And I was quite bad at it, but it was cute.
Which one did you play?
I played them both, but the first one you had to manually hit the button every time you wanted to shoot. I was like, I am way too lazy for this.
Okay,
I need to hold that button.
You might have to clarify when you say I played them both, because there are like 10.
Oh, I was just thinking of the ones that are available on the Switch right now.
Oh, okay.
There's one for the original Nintendo, and there's one on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, are they in the, like, on the SNES thing?
Yes, they are.
I didn't even know that. Okay, interesting.
I accidentally saw it when I was looking for something TwinBee related on the internet. I was like, oh, well, would you look at that?
Yeah, I do have a note here about it being released on the Switch, but it didn't occur to me that would be as part of the thing that we actually have access to.
Yeah, at least two of them. I can't remember what their names were, but TwinBee was in the title.
Okay, interesting. Oh, well. Yes, so let me give you a little rundown on the history of this.
Please do it.
As you discovered from playing it, well, I'm assuming you probably played the first one, because I think that's on there, which is a vertical scrolling shooter. Does that sound like what you experienced?
It does. I have flashbacks of it constantly.
Okay. It was, as far as I can tell, it was the very first Cute-em-up.
Cute-em-up.
Yep.
Oh, that's the cutest name.
It was followed pretty closely by Sega's Fantasy Zone, which is the other really well-known Cute-em-up.
Really well-known.
Don't call attention to my Elmer Fudd-isms. It was released in arcades on March 5th, 1985 by Konami, who don't make games anymore, but once they did.
Once upon a time, if you can remember back that far.
I tried to find out who created, like the person that created this series. I could not find anything.
I think this series was just given to us from the cosmos.
It's extremely possible. I did a little searching around and I found a couple of possible names of creators, but I couldn't find anything concrete. So if anybody knows who created TwinBee, let me know. Although it does seem like when it was originally created, it was a very different series than what it was by the time we get to this show coming out.
I think this should be our first case, where we find out who created TwinBee.
Oh, we're doing it? We're opening in the detective agency?
Well, it's a soft opening.
Okay.
If we can't do this, we can just fade back into obscurity.
I'll find an office to rent and you start training the bees.
I'll buy the Sherlock hats and the tweed jackets.
So, this game apparently was a huge hit in Japan, the first TwinBee game.
That's wild.
And it led to there being a really big series throughout the 80s and 90s, which I'm going to get into a little bit. But the one thing I want to call attention to right away is that, now, this is according to the TwinBee wiki, so might be biased information.
Also take it with a grain of salt.
Yes, I couldn't find anything else to corroborate this, but according to the wiki, in Japan, TwinBee fans had the nickname Bee Mates.
Okay.
And they would attach a bell to their clothing somewhere to, like, signify each other. And
like cats?
I think they were more like a big bell. Not like a little jingly cat bell. But
I'm still... When you think about a bell attached to a living thing, you think of a little kitty cat.
You do? Or a cow.
Or a cow.
And the other
or
thing...
both of them together solving crimes.
Oh, my cat cow. The cat cow agency.
I don't care for that name.
Cow cat?
That's better.
Meow moo. Oh no, Mew Moo. There we go. Moo Mew. No.
You knew.
Anyway, apparently, on most train stations around the time, on the bulletin boards where people could where people could put whatever they wanted up, you would very often find the word "bee" written on there by TwinBee fans. Again, according to the wiki.
Well, that's just as irritating as the speech quirk from the show.
No, we'll get to that. They would also have gatherings in parks on Sunday the 13th at 1 p.m. I don't know why Sunday the 13th specifically.
Would they just buzz at each other?
I don't know.
It'd be like a droning hum that just grows louder and louder until the cloud of bees comes.
When I read that, I was thinking, how often does Sunday the 13th come up, though? But I looked into it, and apparently there is generally at least one Sunday the 13th each year. And this year, there were 3.
Interesting.
We've already had 2 of them, and there's another one in November.
It's like Friday the 13th. It's just kind of a random day that shows up sometimes.
Yeah, and I guess the TwinBee fans liked it for some reason. I don't know what the significance is. There seems to be some significance of 13 in TwinBee fandom, but I don't know what it is.
We're not that deep into the lore.
No, I did some research, but I feel like you need to live it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I might start.
Our Japanese, and we need to go infiltrate the TwinBee fan community.
Yeah, I don't know if they're still around. So we might also need to travel back in time.
They've gone underground.
Oh, okay.
The underground.
We're going to find the old bee mates. They still have the bells attached to their clothes.
How else are we going to find the original creator?
That's true. He's one of them living underground, building a real TwinBee. Oh, you're killing me.
Good. It's like a million tiny stings to your lungs.
So the first game wasn't widely released across the world. The only worldwide releases for it were on the 3DS.
What?
The Switch, and you can get it on Steam now as part of some Konami arcade museum thing.
On Steam, you say?
Apparently.
I happen to be attached to a computer at present.
Oh, well.
But it's also taking a very long time to load. I think I'm going to have to restart Steam. So anyway.
It was released for MSX computers in Europe in the 80s, but not in America. And I think in America it was released on the NES, but they renamed it Stinger.
Ew.
I find it so funny that the way that TwinBee stood out was by being a shoot, because there were tons of shoot 'em ups at the time. It was a really common genre. And the way that TwinBee stood out was by being cute, but then when they brought it to America, they tried to de-cute it. Like, missing the point so hard.
I like to think that it had like an old school style Mega Man box art thing.
Yes. God, I love bad box art Mega Man. I love that they put him in one of the Capcom Versus games. Do you know about this?
I don't.
You can play as bad box art Mega Man in one of the Capcom Versus games.
That's incredible.
Let me find him. It was was it Street Fighter X Tekken? I think it was Street Fighter X Tekken, it looks like. So the one where it's all Street Fighter characters fighting Tekken characters also includes this version of Mega Man as a playable character.
Incredible.
Yeah, for anybody who wants to see it, just Google Bad Box Art Mega Man and you'll find him.
He's there waiting for you.
That's actually his name, Bad Box Art Mega Man.
Incredible.
In an interview, Yoshinori Ono, the producer of Street Fighter X Tekken, states that the reason behind including Bad Box Art Mega Man and his highly exaggerated appearance instead of any other version was due to Keiji Inafune's wishes, Inafune being the creator of Mega Man. Ono said that when he asked creator Keiji Inafune about including Rockman in Street Fighter X Tekken, Inafune said, "That's not interesting. We have seen Mega Man in fighting games before," and then asked Ono to give him something original.
I love that.
Ono then decided to use the Mega Man from the quote-unquote awful North American box art from the first Mega Man game and make it even wackier by presuming that Bad Box Art Mega Man has aged since his picture was taken.
What an incredible story. That's what I love to hear. Talking behind the scenes.
All right, that's a digression away from TwinBee, but I'm glad it happened.
That was a necessary digression.
So the first game in the series to get a full worldwide release was Detana TwinBee in 1991, which was the 5th game in the series.
What was it on?
It was... Oh, God. I think it was an arcade game.
Okay.
I didn't write that down, but I think it was an arcade game. It might have been on the Super Nintendo as well. But when it came out in English, they renamed it Bells and Whistles.
Bells and Whistles.
Yes, TwinBee, for some reason, wasn't considered a good name in America, I guess. And Bells and Whistles was? I don't know about you, but in the 90s, or even now, if you showed me a game called Bells and Whistles, I wouldn't be jumping to try it.
No, it sounds like some old-timey Depression-era game that children made up when they couldn't afford food.
Yeah. Yep. But Detana TwinBee was the debut of Shujiro Hamakawa as the character designer. And they basically brought him in. He was a manga artist, and they brought him in to revamp the whole series. And that's basically the reason I'm bringing this game up at all, is because that's basically where TwinBee begins, you know, in the form that we're going to be seeing it in the show today.
Right. That's where we get like Light and Pastel from.
Yes. So in the original 4 TwinBee games, the ships are just ships, from what I can tell. They do have pilots. They're different pilots. It's still set on Donburi Island, and Dr. Cinnamon is still there as the creator of the ships, but the ships aren't sentient.
Okay.
And
this is already giving me a lot more background than the show did, by the way.
I know. Yes, the show really doesn't. And there is kind of a reason for that, which I'll get into right now. So the show actually released in 1994 as a standalone OVA. For anybody who doesn't know what an OVA is, it stands for Original Video Animation. And it was a pretty common thing in Japan back in the 90s and 2000s, where they would make a very short anime series and release each episode separately on VHS tapes. We'll be coming across a lot of those on this show. But this is the first one that we've done.
One episode per tape.
One episode per tape.
Old school technology.
Yeah, I guess it was how they funded it. Because, anime is expensive to produce.
Yes.
And
so they had to sell one episode to fund the next?
Probably. It was like episodic games. But this episode was actually, although it is part of a series, when it was released, this was a completely standalone one. They weren't, the series itself didn't start until way later. And this one wasn't actually for sale originally. It was given away to people who bought the newest game at the time, which was Poppin' TwinBee Rainbow Bell Adventure.
That might be the one that's on the Super Nintendo.
I hope so. Because that's the one if it is, that's perfect, because that's the one I want to play for the post-show stream. But the story of this OVA is not related to the game at all, besides using the same characters.
I figured that part out, but it's also kind of bonkers that it throws so many characters at you and doesn't explain a thing.
Yes, and I think I noticed that as well, and I think probably the reason is that since you were getting this tape with a copy of the game, they were probably like, well, the game will explain who the characters are.
Does it? Because that was not my experience.
Oh. Well, back then the game would have come with a manual, right? And that would have
That's
had...
true.
So
that's where all of your lore and text comes from.
Yeah, that's how you... Back in those days, you were expected to read the game manual if you wanted to have any idea what was going on in the game.
Man, remember game manuals?
I used to love game manuals. I would read them on the way home in the car after buying a game.
Over and over. Your Sonic the Hedgehog 1 game manual.
I loved a lot of the Donkey Kong ones, although I wasn't the biggest Donkey Kong Country fan back then. A lot of the Donkey Kong manuals were written in character by Cranky, which was great. So all the character introductions and stuff, he'd be complaining about them. Every page of the game instructions, he'd be complaining about how complicated it is compared to games in his day.
Rare does some good character writing.
Yeah. There's so many great Rare characters. I'm so sad that there's no Banjo-Kazooie show for us to look at.
That would be great.
It would. It's got so many good characters.
I would want to watch a Gruntilda half-hour power hour.
Me too.
I would watch her game show every day.
Le Planète de Mumbo Jumbo. Also, this anime... Oh, and actually, this might be another reason that they didn't really explain who the characters were. But this anime seems to be basically a special animated episode of the TwinBee Paradise radio drama series.
Radio drama.
That was running at the same time. It uses the same voice cast as the radio drama series. The radio drama series was apparently very successful and ran for a long time.
That's wild. Like, I know that that's a thing that exists within anime, but it's still so wild to me.
I know. And never...
like drama CDs.
We never get them outside Japan. I'm so sad that we never got the Pokemon one about... There's a Pokemon one about Jessie's mom.
What?
Yeah. Jessie's mom, apparently she was a Team Rocket admin when Jessie was a baby. And she went missing on a mission to search for Mew. And there's a whole radio drama about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's probably not much of a market for it outside of Japan.
No, probably not.
Especially back, like, in its heyday when anime itself was so niche.
Yeah, that's true. This was originally a standalone thing that was just titled WinBee's 1/8 Panic. But... it was later released for general sale. So what happened was, this came out in 1994 and was only given to people who bought the game. Then 4 years later, in 1998, they made an actual OVA series called TwinBee Paradise. And this was released again for sale this time as Volume 0 of the TwinBee Paradise series.
You chumps have to pay for it now because you didn't get on the train when it was fresh and tasty.
Well, also, the Volume 0 one came with a new extra 10-minute short called Tulip Beach Stories, which we didn't watch for this, but...
No, we didn't. You didn't tell me there was a Tulip Beach story.
Well, it's only 10 minutes long.
Yeah, but
Maybe we'll do it
we
as
already watched like half an hour of this.
Well, you wanted to watch a 40 minutes of show?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I
You're
thought
always
not.
watching that timer like, oh, I need to fidget with something. These notes they're getting to me.
Maybe we'll do Tulip Beach Stories as like a Patreon special or something, because I think it's a bit too short to do a whole episode on.
Yeah.
The show was animated by AIC, which stands for Anime International Company. Would you like to know some other things they did?
Please tell me some other things they did.
They did Tenchi Muyo, Bubblegum Crisis. They did some Persona films. They did the Gambare Gomon OVA. And they did all the anime cutscenes for Grandia, one of my favorite games.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
The only thing on that list that anyone has heard of.
Hey, I've heard of Tenchi Muyo and Bubblegum Crisis. I've just never seen them.
I like how you don't mention Persona, the thing on that list that is debatably the most famous.
Well, I've never experienced it with my eyes
Well,
or
I
my
don't
hands.
have Persona, so
And I know who Goemon is. I've never seen him in action, except in this show.
I've heard of him, but for some reason the only thing coming to mind is Doraemon.
Oh yeah, I love that guy. But he's not a video game, so shut
No,
up about it. You can't bring up things that aren't video games, even though I just did that.
Even though we do it constantly.
It's like half the show.
We spent the first half of the show talking about a bee detective agency.
I don't know if I'm putting that in.
Well, you're going to have to put that part in now because it's funny without context.
So, the opening of this
Yes.
show is super cute.
It was very cute. I was lost in the magic of it.
Yes.
Also, their names went by so quickly. I couldn't focus.
Yes. I'll introduce them when they show up in the actual show. But did you notice the horrendous crab train in the opening?
I couldn't look away from the horrendous crab train. It came at us and stole my attention.
Yes, I wondered what the heck was going on. It's just the transport system of Donburi Island, apparently.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah,
like, I had to watch the intro twice because the first time I didn't realize that the closed captions weren't on.
Ah.
I was like, oh, I guess they just didn't translate the intro. But then I had to watch it again, and I was like, are they riding that crab?
Yes. And apparently, I looked into this, and apparently that crab train is a boss from Detana TwinBee.
I am not surprised. That's why at first I thought maybe we were seeing some like monsters that they're gonna fight.
Yeah, no, it was a boss fight, and then inexplicably for the rest of the series, it's just a public transport system on
They've
on the
beaten
island.
it into submission.
I guess so. Well, also when it was a boss fight, it was on another planet, so they beat it up and then they brought it home.
They went to its planet, beat it up, dragged it back to theirs, and enslaved it.
Yeah, and then for the rest of the series, it's just the public transport system they use to get to school.
That's dark. That's some dark underbelly.
It's great. I love it. You know I love a dark underbelly. So we're introduced to Madoka's coffee shop at the coast of Donburi Island.
Madoka, who was not good enough to get her name in the opening sequence.
No, she was introduced in Detana TwinBee, from what I can tell. But first, let's talk about the main characters.
Yeah, those guys.
So they're all just hanging out at the coffee shop. Pastel's worried about a beauty contest that she's going to enter. Light really wants her to win. And we don't know who any of these people are.
And we don't know what the Miss Donburi contest is either, because I did not know that was the name of where they lived, so I spent about 20 minutes of this show extremely confused.
Oh. Yeah, I guess I guess they didn't really mention it at this point.
No, they just expected you to have done your homework.
There are also, like, immediately, we're in this coffee shop. There are 7 main characters standing here, and we haven't been introduced to any of them.
No. And 3 of them are talking spaceships.
Yeah.
And we don't know why they are. We don't know what they are.
Yeah, and none of that's really mentioned in the show. And I think it's a combination of the fact that originally this was just given away with copies of the game, and it's also kind of a special episode of the radio show that had already been running for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I did some research so that we can explain.
What did you dig up?
So you've got the 3 pilots, Light, Pastel, and Mint. They are the grandchildren of the inventor of the ships. And they are also the children of the pilots from the original 4 TwinBee games.
I have some questions about Mint.
Okay.
Specifically, why are they letting a literal infant pilot a ship?
I definitely get the impression that the pilot is like ballast.
Yeah, they don't seem to actually need them to function.
Yeah, these are sentient ships. I think I don't know what, because it's not, they don't even need the pilot in there to move around. They move around constantly without the pilot in.
Yeah.
So why is the pilot necessary? I don't know. I'm confused by it. And adding to that confusion is the fact that, yes, Mint is 1 year old and is piloting a ship. Why does their grandfather do this?
When they are specifically heading into danger, why is a baby coming?
Okay, let's talk about the voice actors for these 3.
Drop them on my plate.
I'm not going to be talking about any dub voices this time because there is no dub of this show. It is purely Japanese. But Light is played by Kappei Yamaguchi, who is known for playing the male version of Ranma in Ranma 1/2. Inuyasha in Inuyasha.
Now there's something from my past.
L in Death Note. Usopp in One Piece, which is the guy with the big nose and not a parrot.
Not a parrot.
And he's also the Japanese voice of Bugs Bunny and Crash Bandicoot.
I love that. I love that more.
There's a lot of good voices in here, by the way. There's a lot of people who had done things that I knew.
I believe it.
I'm excited about some of these. Pastel is played by Hekiru Shiina, who has played classic Mega Man a couple times.
Nice.
Was Tails in the Sonic OVA. Celestia in Danganronpa.
Oh, okay.
Good, you knew who that was.
Mm-hmm.
Of course you did.
I love her. She's one of my favorites in the first one.
Is that the black hair girl?
That's the goth Lolita from the first game.
Okay. With the black hair?
Yes.
Okay.
The big black swirly hair.
The one who...
Don't tell people!
Okay, I'll bleep that part. And she's also... No, wait. I was going to say I've heard her recently, but I haven't because she's in the Japanese version. But she's the voice of Professor Bellis in Pokemon Masters.
I don't know who that is.
No, it's a unique character for Masters. That's why. And then we've got Mint.
You could name like any professor that wasn't Oak. I'd be like, who is that?
That's not true. You know who.
Yeah.
Sycamore?
Yeah, I do.
You remember Sycamore?
Was he the French one?
Yes.
Then yes, I do.
He's the one people wanted to bone.
Right. I remember him because wasn't he like whispered to be gay within canon?
Oh, was he? Possibly. I don't know about that.
That could just be because I was spending a lot of time in online Pokemon spaces where everyone is gay.
Yeah, of course. Okay, Mint.
The child.
The baby. Miki Ito played Mint, and Miki Ito is known as the voice of Android 18 in Dragon Ball.
Okay.
Eri Minami in Persona. Do you know who that is?
Which Persona?
I didn't write that down.
Probably not, because I've only played some of 4.
Okay. And she's also the Japanese voice of Cameron Diaz.
In what?
Like everything. Anytime Cameron Diaz has a role, it's Miki Ito. Or, well, almost
That's
every time.
hilarious.
Yeah. They do that a lot apparently in Japan. They'll find a certain voice actor and they'll just tie them to a live action actor and they'll just always play that person.
That's interesting.
Japan care very much about voice actors in a way that America doesn't. America largely sees voice actors as replaceable, as we recently saw with the Bender thing.
Actors. We don't even want to pay them.
No. But in Japan, voice actors are taken very seriously. And that's why, like, Sonic the Hedgehog is a good example because he's been through, like, 4 or 5 different voice actors in America in the same space of time that he's had the same voice in Japan. So.
Yeah, over here, if you're $5 cheaper than the last guy, you're hired.
Yeah. And they won't even tell the last guy.
No, the last guy will be like, no, I really wanted to come back for the sequel, but they didn't hire me.
I was I saw the trailer and I was waiting for a call.
I'm playing the game right now and I'm wondering why I'm not in it.
Or in some cases, I'm playing the game right now and I'm wondering why I am in it, because they'll just use old recordings.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. Okay, that's the 3 pilots out of the way. Now we've got the 3 ships who are standing behind them.
Their deal is.
We have TwinBee, the blue ship, WinBee, the pink ship, and GwynBee, the green ship. GwynBee is the most awkward name to me.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It's just because he's green.
Is that? I couldn't for the life of me figure out why GwynBee.
Why GwynBee? That's the new name of our show.
Where we spend an excruciating amount of time trying to figure out why they chose the name GwynBee in the OVA TwinBee.
TwinBee is played by Mayumi Tanaka, who played Luffy in One Piece. That's the main guy, as we established before.
I know that one.
She played Pazu in Laputa. That's also the main guy.
I don't know that one.
You don't know Laputa?
I don't think I do.
Oh, it's a Studio Ghibli film.
Oh.
It's a good one. It's the one. It's the one that like massively inspired Sonic 3, actually.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't gone through a lot of the older Ghiblis, and I need to.
Yeah, it's one of the, I think it's like late 80s, early 90s ones. It's a very good one.
I believe you.
They have, there are these robots in it that you've probably seen. And outside the Ghibli Museum in Japan, they have a big statue of one of those robots.
That's cute.
Anyway, she also played Krillin in Dragon Ball.
Okay, I know that one.
And she's another Mega Man, because she played the Mega Man Legends Mega Man.
Oh.
And at this point in my cast research, I was like, oh, please let there be more Mega Man in this show. I want this show to be a Mega Man reunion. Okay, WinBee, the pink one, the girl one. Not only is she pink, she also has a heart-shaped windshield.
Yes, she does.
She's played by Kumiko Nishihara, who played Diana in Sailor Moon. I don't know who that is, do you?
Immediately after saying okay, I realized I combined Sailor Moon with Little Witch Academia, and I'm thinking of a different Diana.
Okay, that's cool. I'll just cut this part. I'll just make it sound like you knew exactly who Diana was.
Yes, I am familiar with this character.
She played Iris Chateaubriand in Sakura Wars. I don't know much about Sakura Wars.
No, me neither.
I know it's a Sega strategy series, and I know there's an anime.
Ooh, so we're going to be encountering it later.
She played... Now, I'm familiar with this series to an extent, but I've never heard of this character. But in Dragon Ball, she played a character called Pizza. I don't know who Pizza in Dragon Ball is, but I want to.
But I need to.
And she also played Sue in Grandia. Again, one of my favorite games. And Sue, there's a part in the game with Sue that makes me cry every time I play it.
I still have to play it. I want to know what makes you cry so I can harness that power.
Yeah. I almost just said what it was, but then I was like, no, I want you to play it.
Don't take that from me.
No. And then we have TwinBee, the green one. And I unfortunately can't tell you anything interesting and new about TwinBee because TwinBee has the same voice actor as his pilot, Mint.
Oh.
I assume that they brought in this like pretty big name because she's an Android 18. That's a pretty big name.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that they brought in this big name actor to play Mint, and they were like, "Well, we can't just have her do baby noises." or actually, it was probably the other way around, and they brought her in to play TwinBee, and then they were like, "Can you do the baby too?" Because
no, I like to think of it was the former.
it does make less sense, and that's why I want that to be the truth.
We're dropping a lot of money on this woman, so we want her to make goo-goos and gagas.
Now, I don't know about you. Coming back to the pilots briefly, I spent this entire show thinking that they were all siblings.
They're not?
They're not!
Because Pastel calls Light Oni-chan the entire time.
I know,
which I know is not exclusively for older brothers, but...
It sure gives you the impression, especially when they establish that they're the grandchildren of Dr. Cinnamon.
Yes.
But
so are they cousins?
Pastel and Mint are siblings, and Light is their cousin, yeah.
Weird, but okay.
I found that out afterwards when I was just doing some extra research about something else. I just came across it by accident.
Well, he's awfully invested in his cousin's life.
Well, there's a reason for that. We'll get to it.
I do know that, but...
But yes, Light is the son of Anamon, the original pilot of TwinBee, and Pastel and Mint are the children of Donamon, the original pilot of WinBee.
Okay, I see why they had to do it. Because they had to get both of the original pilots in there.
Yeah, even though they're not really mentioned at all. I feel like they could... I do like the extra attempt made to keep the original games within the canon, but I do feel like they could have just retconned it, that those original pilots didn't exist.
Because nobody read the manual.
Yeah. And I even looked, and like the wiki doesn't even have pictures of those original pilots, so I don't know if you even see them.
Are they ever even mentioned in anything outside of the wiki, the fan wiki?
One of them, I think Anamon, appears in one episode of the radio drama.
Okay.
And I think that's it. So we have Madoka. I meant to look up. I got the distinct impression that she was probably a shopkeeper character in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I meant to look that up and I didn't. But she seems to be who sets the plot in motion in Pop and TwinBee. Because she comes to them... In fact, I'll get a little bit to the plot of that in a minute, but she's the one who comes to them asking for help at the start of that game, which is the first game that used these characters.
But who did her voice?
I'm glad you asked, because I did a lot of research on that, and it was Mariko Koda. I was stalling for time while I found that. It seems like she's mostly known as a singer. I think she might have sung the songs for this show.
That's cute.
But she also played Holly in the Monster Rancher anime.
Which we will be running into later.
Of course we will, because I love it. She played Zelda in BS Zelda. Do you know about BS Zelda?
I don't know about BS Zelda.
Okay, let me do a quick look up because I don't remember what the BS stands for.
Other than the obvious.
Yeah, but basically in the mid-90s, Nintendo had a system called the Satellaview.
Okay.
It was an expansion, it was a hardware expansion for the Super Nintendo, which allowed you to connect to a satellite station.
What the fuck?
Yeah, to download games. Okay, here we go. The Satellaview service could be accessed via the St. Giga satellite station between 4 and 7 p.m. The user...
That absolutely sounds like a Gundam floating in space.
Yeah, ST might not stand for Saint, I just assume it does. I can't see anything contradicting that. Let's just say it's St. Giga.
Okay.
The user was required to have a subscription to the St. Giga station as well as a BS tuner in order to operate the Satellaview. I don't know what BS stood for. I don't see it.
Booty scratcher.
But anyway, you would connect it to the satellite and you would download some games and they would be stored on your BSX cartridge.
So this is primitive digital downloading.
Yeah, basically.
That's nutso. For the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and that ran for 5 years in Japan only. A lot of the games that you got through it, so basically you downloaded a game temporarily and you could play it until you downloaded another one.
Until it got sucked back into space by St. Giga.
Yeah. But most of the games that you got through it were just like old games. It was like a rental service, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But there were the odd few brand new games made for it. And one of those was BS The Legend of Zelda.
Wow.
And it's a Super Nintendo remake of the first Zelda game.
Fascinating.
But
is that the only place that it's ever been? Did they ever port it to anything?
Nope, it's never been ported to anything. You don't play as Link in it. You
play as the Moblin?
You can choose to play as either the male or female mascots of the Satellaview service, but wearing Link's clothes.
I think I have heard of this because I've heard of that nonsense.
Yeah, and it had voices.
Wow.
And Madoka's voice actor played Zelda in it.
Her voice traveled through space to bring Zelda to your ears.
Yeah, it's wild.
That is wild.
She also played Febronia in Xenosaga, which I haven't played, but I think I should because I really love Xenoblade, which is a spiritual successor from the same creator.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't played it.
Yeah, I should. Well, I think it was on the PS1 and I never had one, so.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And she also played Hinata in Sakura Wars, so we'll probably come across that at some point.
Probably.
Anyway, that's 7 characters, voice actors out of the way.
Jesus Christ. And we still have more to go.
Oh,
because they just throw characters at you.
Madoka offers Pastel some cookies, and Light makes some sexist comments about Pastel's weight.
Yeah, because she has to be thin and beautiful to win Miss Donburi, so she can't eat cookies, because if she gains an ounce, she's worthless to him.
So she splits a cookie with WinBee.
And it's disgusting.
Is it disgusting? I thought they loved it.
That is absolutely not the impression that I got.
Well, it's weird, because, they both kind of like start crying and they get those lines on their face. And
everything gets dark.
Yeah, and I definitely thought that they didn't like it. But then Madoka's like, what's wrong? You don't like it? And Pastel insists that it's actually amazing. But maybe she was saying that to spare her feelings. I don't know.
Like, sweetie, there's a thing that we do sometimes called a white lie.
But it didn't, no, but it didn't seem, she didn't have like a sweat drip on her head or anything. She seemed genuinely enthused about it.
I would say that it was not
Okay.
a good. That is not the impression that I got.
Okay.
The voice acting was a little bit too enthusiastic to be telling her a lie, but I don't.
Well, yeah, the way you interpreted it is the way I expected to interpret it. But then it so I maybe it just wasn't portrayed very well, or maybe I gaslit myself out of out of my original assumption. I don't know.
Well, because then Madoka spends literal hours crying, so I think the cookies were bad.
Okay. All of the ships end every sentence with the word "be."
It's very annoying.
It's pretty common in anime to have characters end all their sentences with a word like that. Like, I know in the Kirby anime, DDD ends all of his sentences with Zoe for some reason.
And yet, for some reason, when it's B, it really just grates on you.
Not only... It's not... I think it wouldn't be as bad if it was only one character doing it, but it's 3 characters doing it.
True.
Every sentence.
And they tell B puns.
I think a lot of the B puns were added in the subtitles.
Maybe.
I was paying attention for that, and I think it seemed like what they were actually saying in Japanese, the only use of the word "be" seemed to be when they ended a sentence.
And that doesn't really translate into English.
Yeah, so I think the subtitles that we had were trying to include that by having them talk like pirates, but with the word "be."
Strange. Yeah.
So it was, they would say things like, "What be you doing?" and stuff like that. Whereas I think what was actually being said in the Japanese was more along the lines of, "What are you doing, B?"
I could not pay enough attention with the very limited amount of Japanese that I know, because
I mean,
this show was going a mile a minute.
You know way more Japanese than me. I was just listening out for B in the sentences.
Yeah. You say way more as if 5 words more is a lot.
Hey, listen. You send me these like long Japanese sentences, and I'm like, yeah, I know what that says. Put it in Google
long
Translate.
Japanese sentences made of 5 words.
Yeah, that's too much for me. I see a kanji. I'm like, oh, I'm out.
Why are you sending me these hieroglyphs?
I'm like, yeah, I'm learning Japanese. I'm getting pretty good at it. And then someone sends me a kanji, and I'm like, I'm in over my head.
Why are you typing in wingdings? You know we use Comic Sans around here.
What is this umbrella you've sent me? It's drawn attention to that Light is very excited about this beauty pageant for reasons unknown.
We can smell that there's an ulterior motive,
yes,
but we don't know it.
It's clear that something's up.
Pastel herself draws attention to it.
Yeah, and he just kind of brushes it off.
Mm-hmm.
So they go home and they leave Madoka. See, I interpreted it as that she was like crying with joy because they loved her cookies. But you?
No, I figured that she was crying because they were disgusting cookies.
So
she was upset about it.
You think she was crying because she didn't buy their praise?
Yes.
Okay.
Because their expression was very, very distinct and the opposite of what they said.
I did think that as well, but but I guess the lie was sold well enough that I bought it. So we get this random shot of some spinning crystals in a glowy room.
Yeah, that was very strange. That was a jarring transition.
It was. I liked how creepy it was.
I did like it, but it was very confusing because there's ominous music and there's strobing lights and there's like these doors creaking open and then the scene fades out.
Yes, I liked that because everything up to this point's been cute, and I liked this early setup of there's something ominous coming. which didn't necessarily pay off in that way,
No,
but
little did we know, nothing ominous was coming.
which isn't a complaint, by the way. I'll get into
No.
my opinions on this show later. But we come back to Madoka. It's now the middle of the night, and
She's still crying.
She hasn't moved, and she kind of suddenly realizes that everyone's left.
And she thinks that they're rude for leaving very unexpectedly, despite the fact that she has been standing in the same place doing the same thing for many hours.
And this is where Dr. Marduk appears.
He sure does.
Bursting into the room from behind.
This strange rodent man.
Marduk is Madoka's grandfather. And for some background on Marduk, he is usually a friend to the main cast, and occasionally an antagonist.
You mean like when he shrinks them on accident?
I need to tell you about his first appearance, which was in Pop and TwinBee, which we've mentioned a few times before. The first game that featured a lot of these characters. In Pop and TwinBee, the main plot is that Madoka comes to the TwinBee team looking for help because her grandfather, Marduk, has hit his head, and after hitting his head, he started trying to take over the world. And when you defeat him at the end of the game, it snaps him out of it and he goes back to being a nice man.
Well, that's a fun, happy ending.
I think it's hilarious.
The stupidest thing I've ever heard, and I love it.
It's a very Katamari type plot. This whole plot is happening because he hit his head and now he's a villain. Marduk is played by Joji Yanami, who was the narrator and King Kai in Dragon Ball.
Okay.
And he played Genai in Digimon, or Genai if you are a filthy English Digimon fan. I'm kidding, the dub's fine. It's just not very good.
I'm kidding, the dub's fine. It's not, but it's fine.
I don't mind if you like it. We can still be friends.
Just not close ones.
The thing is, I don't hate the Digimon dub. I think it's fine as a show. It's just that the original is so much better. Mm-hmm. And in a way that you rarely see. There aren't that many anime that are so harshly changed by a dub. Because even Pokemon, even when the dub got really bad in Pokemon, you could still recognize the original story in there.
It changed that much between languages?
Oh, we'll get into it when we talk about Digimon. We're going to do Digimon on the show. But
How dare you tease us all like this?
I've got plenty to say about the you know when we get to the end of an anime and I talk about what changes were made in the dub?
Yes.
For Digimon, that's probably going to be like half the episode.
That's just the show.
Yeah. Yes, I have a note here about how wild Marduk's design is. Because he really does look like a weird rodent man.
Yeah, he's got these big buggy eyes and these rodent teeth.
But there's just something lovable about him.
Oh, I loved him. But he terrifies me a little bit.
And then, in close succession to Marduk being revealed to us, we are then introduced to Dr. Warumon.
Well, we haven't really said why.
Oh, you're right. My bad. He's looking for a potion, right?
Yes, he's misplaced one of his strange professorial potions. We don't really know what he does or why he does it, but he's done it.
It's immediately apparent, in my opinion, that the potion was in some way used in the cookies.
Yes, that was the implication.
Although they don't say it yet. In fact, they wait until the next morning to...
Yeah, first they have to show us this Warumon, whatever is going on with Warumon.
Yes, so Dr. Warumon was actually introduced in the game that this video came with.
Okay.
He's a new character, but he became the main villain of the series from this point onwards. And he's introduced testing out a machine designed to snatch Pastel in a locker room.
Specifically Pastel, we're not really sure why.
Yes, it doesn't really tell us why he wants Pastel, does it? He does say that he can get a TwinBee with it, but he mentions that as a bonus.
Yeah, it's not what he's after. He's not after Winbee. It's Pastel specifically.
Yeah.
Really, all it gives us is that, like, she's come into the limelight recently, which we don't know what that means.
I wonder if it's just a case of he's trying to kidnap one of the Doctor's grandkids and he doesn't mind which one, and the contest has just presented an opportunity to grab one of them.
That sounds a little bit too logical.
Yeah, I'm trying my best.
That's not the answer.
Because he's got a base that seems to be in the basement of the contest hall for the beauty contest.
I could not even guess as to where he was. I was very confused by the Warumon subplot.
Dr. Warumon is played by Yukimasa Kishino, who has played Dalsim in Street Fighter.
Okay.
Cao Cao in Dynasty Warriors. I don't know who that is.
I do.
Okay. And Cassius Bright in Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, a game that has been on my Steam wishlist for a very long time, but which I've never played.
But which I refuse to buy for you.
Yeah, where is it?
You always have such a long wish list, and I'm always trying to think, like, if I was Mike, which one of these would I want the most? And it's always Calgun.
They actually It is always Calgun. I actually have ordered my wish list now, but you know me. The order I would have put it in changes every day.
Mm-hmm.
So oh, we're also introduced to the Zakobies here.
Yeah, that's pretty much as we get from Zakubi. We see him and know that he is.
Well, there's loads of them, apparently.
Are they all Zaku's bee?
Yeah, I think so. They're mass-produced TwinBee knockoffs.
Okay.
That seem to be much smaller than TwinBee is.
This information was not given to us in the anime.
No, but we see a bunch of them working on something.
Yeah.
But there is...
Were they working on the arm?
I think so, yeah. I think. It is hard to tell. It's very dark.
Unclear.
Yeah. There are loads of Zakobies, but there's also a main Zakobi, which is the one we most often see with Warumon. That apparently is Zakobi number 004. I don't know why, but...
Maybe it's like a Rosen Maiden situation where he's trying to make the fake real. So he's like, this was the fourth one.
It's
very real series he's from.
It sounded like, from what I was reading, it sounded like all of the single digit ones are specific characters, and then anything above single digits are just like random Zakobies. But there are a group of Zakobies who have specific looks and colors that are different than all the others. I think number 4 is the one that wears a big red bow on the back of its head.
I'm going to be real with you. I did not pay that much attention.
I only did on the second viewing. I watched this twice to understand it.
To understand it, and because I was sitting around going, I'll watch it eventually. You had nothing better to do.
Also, a lot of this is like information I've picked up from wikis and stuff, so...
I know you like to spend your time on those wikis.
But anyway, Zakobi is played by Yusuke Numata, who played the Cybermen in Dragon Ball, who played Chess in One Piece.
Just the game.
He played Rob64 and Andrew in Star Fox.
I love it.
And he was the voice of Mighty in the original arcade game, Sega Sonic Arcade, which Mighty was introduced in. I don't think the characters even have lines in that game. I think they just have grunts and screams and stuff.
Yes, I am known as the grunting echidna. What is Mighty again?
He's an armadillo.
Armadillo.
You got your head in some Ken Pender's space there.
Everyone is an echidna. No, I just thought red, strong, it's a Knuckles.
So it's the next morning.
Yes, it's the next morning, and we immediately know that something is wrong, but Pastel does not.
It takes her so long to figure out. Pastel is tiny.
And she's still wearing her giant clothes, like
dragging them
nothing-
behind her, yeah. She's just a tiny head sticking out of the top of her nightdress, dragging the rest of it behind her.
She puts on her slipper.
She falls out of the bed. Like, she gets up in the bed and she walks to the edge and just drops off it onto the floor and doesn't notice. And
you don't routinely fall out of your bed.
Not like 10 feet. But she doesn't notice until she walks to her bedroom door and realizes that there's no door handle that she can reach.
Yeah. She's got her hand out there reaching for something like it's an invisible titty.
And then she looks down and sees her giant slippers. And then screams.
And then Dr. Cinnamon is here!
Dr. Cinnamon is here, the grandfather of the kids and the creator of the ships.
I love him.
He is played by Kazumi Tanaka, which I consistently misread as Kazumi Totaka.
That's a different person.
Yes, that's the guy who does all the music for Animal Crossing and Yoshi games and stuff. Is also the voice of Yoshi. This guy is not the voice of Yoshi. This guy is the voice of the Fear from Metal Gear Solid 3. And a character called, I think it's pronounced Jace in Dragon Ball. I haven't heard of them either. I don't know. I've only read the first 3 volumes of original Dragon Ball. I've never even seen a Zed.
I don't know much about Dragon Ball or its Z companion.
So the phone rings and Madoka just has all the answers for them.
Yeah, because why did she call? Oh, right.
She's looking for the potion.
Yeah, she wants to know if anything strange has happened to TwinBee and Pastel's body.
Yes, I guess they've spent all night searching for the potion, and now it's the morning, and she's realized that it must have gone in the cookies. So
it's the only place left it could be.
Yeah, so she calls and asks if anything strange has happened to Pastel or TwinBee. I like the implication that they don't know what would have happened. It's like they didn't know what the potion was supposed to do. They just know it would have done something.
Yes.
So they find out that Pastel and TwinBee are now 1/8 of their original size.
Specifically because that's the title of the episode.
Yes. But luckily Marduk has a bazooka.
It's a potion gun.
He comes over with a gun and he's just like gonna shoot Pastel in the face with antidote, I guess.
Line her up, I'm gonna shoot her with this thing.
And it's like a big bazooka. It goes over his shoulder and everything.
Yep. And it has like a top loading thing that you put the bells in.
Yes, so it's powered by bells. He needs bells to shoot it. I don't know about you, but this is another point where I got confused.
I did not get confused because
I played the game.
Okay. Yeah, I got confused because I was like, bells? Like the thing that comes from the clouds? And then the next scene, they go looking for clouds to get bells from.
And that's where I got confused because Marduk asks Light for a bell and then Light goes and looks at the clouds and freaks out because there aren't any there. And I was like, what? How are these two things connected?
Because you shoot clouds to get bells.
Okay, well, you know what? You've thrown my notes off track because I was assuming that I would have to explain this because I needed it explained to me. But you've gone away and you've actually played the game, so you know more about it than I do now.
Very, very little more.
But you knew that part.
I got to the second stage and then I died.
Well, see, I didn't even know enough to understand that there are bells in the clouds. So I just had no idea what was happening at this point. So yes, he goes to look for clouds because they need some bells, but all the clouds are gone.
They have a bee drone go looking.
Yes,
and it gets shot down out of the sky.
I was so sad about that because it was cute.
It's fine.
And well, if the other 3 are sentient, was that one?
It's fine. He went to the hospital and he's better.
It was a yellow one.
He's fine.
There's no yellow TwinBee anymore.
It's TwinBee.
No, it would be Yinbee, you know it.
So why did the spirit castle get brought up? Because that's the next part.
Because they find one group of clouds.
And they assume that it's the spirit castle floating in the sky?
No, don't they see it briefly? They find there's one little group of clouds left. And they look at it through the drone, and I think they see the castle for like a second, but then a bullet comes from the castle and shoots the drone down. And
that's right.
Light rewinds the video and they look at the castle.
And then they enhance the image.
Yeah. And then Dr. Cinnamon's like, Donbury Island didn't used to be the only island. There was another one, and it went up into the sky. A crazy queen, Angel Island, did her castle.
I absolutely love this queen because she raised her island into the sky as a flex on the rest of the world.
Because she wanted to be above everyone else.
Yeah.
Literally. Also, I love... So Light basically gives a rundown of what they're going to have to do to get the bells. That they're going to have to go to the castle and get the bells or whatever it is he says. He gives this rundown of it. And then TwinBee says, thanks for explaining the obvious.
No problem.
Yeah, and then Light says no problem. And it's like fully, neither of them are being sarcastic. He's like genuinely thanking him for explaining the obvious. And then Light says no problem.
But then they all leave to go find the spirit castle.
Yes, and Pastel is inside WinBee, and WinBee is inside TwinBee. So they're like Russian dolling.
Yes. There's a good scene of that at the end of the episode that I enjoyed.
Yes. They land at the castle, and they get immediately attacked by Raijin.
So there's a scene preceding that where the mysterious figures Fujin and Raijin are being mysterious.
Yes.
And then we see them in the flesh. We see Raijin.
Yes. Raijin is played by Atsushi Kisaichi, who is best known as the voice of Meta Knight.
All right. Very similar characters.
Raijin obviously named after the Japanese god of thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And Fujin after the wind god, right?
He has lightning abilities that we don't super get to see, and when we do, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
We don't see a lot of Raijin at all. By the way, Raijin and Fujin, not characters from the games.
Which is disappointing because I would love to fight Fujin as a boss.
They appear only in this episode of the show and never again.
That's a shame.
It's kind of a shame. Not so much for Raijin. I wasn't super into Raijin. He's fine.
I loved Raijin for his voice acting.
His voice was nuts. Yeah.
He was very effeminate and dramatic, and I loved it.
Also, I thought the fight scene was very nicely animated with TwinBee running across the rooftops and stuff. That was fun. Oh, and then TwinBee splits into a whole bunch of little TwinBees.
Yeah. I don't understand how that worked.
I assume that's a thing from the game, but it left me with many questions about what happened to the people inside of him.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And they're also
I don't know from the game, but I've only played 2.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I love, he just splits into loads of little ones, and then he gets Raijin in the middle of them all, and then they all just hit him with a hammer, and that's it.
All just bring out this big long mallet and bonk him, and he falls.
Yeah, and then they fall into a trapdoor.
Well, they fall, and they're not in a trapdoor.
Oh, are they not?
But they are, but they don't fall directly into it. Like, Raijin falls into, like, a fountain, and then this electric wiring starts filling up the screen, and they just kind of drop into a trapdoor
Okay.
from the electricity, I guess. I was very confused.
Yeah, I had a hard time following a lot of the fight scenes, honestly. So all this time we keep getting updates on how long it is to the contest.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Warumon is spying on the girls in the changing room.
Yes, my note just says women's locker room peeping scene.
Yes, but what's... Usually when you hear a women's locker room peeping scene, there's a very specific behavior you expect from the peeper.
And that's not what we get here.
No, Warumon does not seem to be interested in women at all.
He's not there for them. He only cares about Pastel. And it doesn't seem to be in a pervy way. It's just he just wants to grab her.
And it's not because this show avoids perverts, because we're going to get plenty of that later. It's just that Warumon doesn't seem to be one.
These women just happen to be half naked where he's looking.
Yeah.
That's not why he's looking.
He's just after Pastel, and that's where she's supposed to be. And he's just annoyed that she's not there. But he's like, where is she? And he crawls up his vent and just like bursts into the changing room with all the girls. And then they all attack him. And I'm not sure what he was after.
So the way I see it, it's like he is so disinterested in the fact that these other women are there that he doesn't even think of them as getting upset at the fact that he would sneak in.
Well, he like maybe didn't even register them as being there until they... Because he bursts out of one of the lockers looking for Pastel, and then there's a moment where all the girls are staring at him, and he seems to have this like realization of like, oops, I shouldn't have done this.
Before getting mobbed by a bunch of ladies.
Yeah. I think you just opened my mind to the possibility that he didn't even really register they were there until he burst in.
That was my reading of it, and I loved it.
Yeah, I actually like Warumon a lot, and he's the source of the biggest laugh I got from this episode later on.
But then we go back to everybody else.
Yes.
Just kind of trapped in the oubliette.
Our heroes are now in the room we caught a brief glimpse of earlier with the weird spinning ring and the glowing crystals.
Which we still don't understand what they are.
No, and we won't really until the end.
Yeah.
But they find a conveyor belt covered in bells.
I loved that when TwinBee picked one up, it made the sound effect from the game.
Oh, did it? I didn't know because I haven't heard it. I like that.
And there was a lot of music from the games in it.
I was wondering about that because, Fujin shows up here.
Yes.
And the music, I'm not super familiar with the music from the game, but in this scene where Fujin is here, I did think, if this isn't music from the game, it's captured the style of the music from the game perfectly. Because it sounded like game music.
I'm not super familiar with the music. Having played all of 15 minutes of it, I know that makes me an expert. But I recognize that track.
Right, okay, cool. Yeah, so TwinBee just grabs a handful of bells and then runs into a fence and drops them all.
Something like that.
I don't know why he ran into he like turns a corner and there's a metal kind of gate there or something that he runs into.
Yeah.
And all the bells fly beyond it. And this is where Fujin shows up.
This is where Fujin's silhouette shows up.
And Fujin really took me aback because he looks so different to Raijin.
I loved it. That was the best reveal.
Yeah. So he's just like a guy with one of those, what do they call those hairstyles?
Pompadour?
Yeah. Like the traditional like Japanese delinquent pompadour.
You know, the one that's like a foot long.
Yeah. And he just comes around the corner. I think he's even got his hands in his pockets at first. He doesn't really say much.
No, but he does a lot with his mouth.
Yes, he tries to Kirby them. That's what I've written here. But as he's sucking them towards him, he inflates like a balloon.
Yep.
So now he's a big round guy sucking in air.
And then he blows, and TwinBee gets blown through the bars somehow.
Oh, yeah, he does. Fujin is played by Hirohiko Kakegawa, who played Zhang Fei in Dynasty Wars.
Dynasty?
Dynasty Wars. I don't know which is correct. It's one of those.
I've never in my life heard Dynasty.
It might be the British way.
So the wrong way.
He also played Beltino Toad and James McCloud in Star Fox. Those are the parents of Fox and Slippy.
I did not know Slippy had parents.
Yes, his dad appears in Star Fox Assault.
Does he? That was the GameCube one, right?
It's one of the GameCube ones.
Oh, okay.
You might be thinking of
I
Star
forgot
Fox
about
Adventures.
No, I'm not. I
Oh.
didn't play that one.
Oh, okay.
I played Assault, but I don't remember him.
Oh, yeah, you meet him. He does some stuff.
Then the game ends.
He also played the adult Prince Tricky in that game as well. You know, the dinosaur guy. Are you sure you played Assault?
Yes!
Okay.
I did not play Adventure!
Well, actually, Tricky's in both of them, so...
That's why I was like, are you sure you said the right one? Why is there a dinosaur?
Well, Tricky's a kid in Star Fox Adventures, and he's an adult in Star Fox Assault, but he does only appear in one cutscene, so...
It's probably been 10 years since I played that game
It's probably been more than that. That game came out in 2005. It's probably been nearly 20 years.
I didn't play it when it first came out.
Oh, okay. When did you play it? 2012?
2013? Girl, I don't know. I didn't get a GameCube until I was 17, 18.
That doesn't help me.
It should. You should have a timeline of my life from birth to death with all the significant consoles I purchased.
When were you born? Like 1990?
Yeah.
Okay, well I knew that much. So so I win.
Whatever, Slippy Toad doesn't have parents.
I think he has a mom as well. No, I'm thinking of his wife.
Slippy's married?
Yeah, in
What is happening?
in Star Fox Command, I think. He gets a girlfriend.
Yes, one?
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't play that one.
it wasn't great.
That's why I didn't play it.
And he also played for anyone who's forgotten what we were talking about, Fujin's
Including
voice
me.
actor. Now, I don't know who this character is because it's Xenosaga and I've never played it. And it doesn't sound like a particularly important character, but I noted it down just because it's a really fun name to say. So he played Vector Director in Xenosaga.
Good highlight.
So yeah, this is where TwinBee and GwynBee get separated.
Yes. Also, WinBee is there.
Yes, WinBee is still inside TwinBee at this point until TwinBee decides that WinBee is a projectile weapon.
Yes, and TwinBee flings WinBee at Fujin when he's inflated and he pops.
The impact noise is so funny.
Play it right now.
Okay. It's done.
Nice.
So Fujin's dead.
Dead for the present moment. He will be back to grace us with his pompadour.
TwinBee ends up back in the glowing room somehow. I'm not sure how that works.
Neither is TwinBee.
No, I guess not. Because TwinBee got blown. They were in the glowing room. They ran down a tiny corridor. Then TwinBee got blown through the bars and somehow ends back in the room where they came from.
It doesn't matter. They're there.
Yeah. And Mint is just like vibing at the edge of a well, it looks like.
Being a baby.
Yeah, being a baby.
Meanwhile, Light and Pastel stumble on an old corpse.
Yeah, the desiccated corpse of the queen. And then, by what seems to be pure coincidence, at that moment, she is restored to life and beauty by a machine.
And it's incredible. Her nips are on full blast.
Yes, I was going to say, very prominent nips. We get a sweeping shot of her body where the camera follows the contours of her curves.
This woman is beautiful and they want you to know it. She wants you to know it beyond all measure.
Queen Juliana, dang it, for some reason I forgot to actually write down the name of the actress, but she has played Bulma's mom in Dragon Ball, and she's the Japanese voice of Miss Bellum in Powerpuff Girls.
I love that.
She, again, like her subordinates, she isn't from the games. She's a new character for this. But unlike her subordinates, she did make one appearance in the games after this.
Good.
But she was only, it sounds like she was like the host of a bonus features menu in one game.
Oh.
But that's still something.
It is. I just really loved her.
She was really good, yeah.
Every 400 years, she awakens with the power of bells. She's restored to full beauty and then immediately goes back to sleep.
Yeah, she calls Pastel Bean Girl, which confused me for a second, but then I guess it's just because Pastel's tiny right now.
Yes.
But yeah, she just goes back to sleep, and she even tells them, like, don't worry, the bells will return to the sky soon.
Yep.
She doesn't seem so bad. But then
she just wanted to be beautiful again.
But then Pastel mentions a beauty pageant.
And Juliana rises from the grave like a Dracula.
Her eyes just snap open when she hears Miss Donburi contest. And yeah, she rises back up like Dracula, saying that she's gonna win it. She's gonna go and win the beauty contest. And I'm unclear why, but she turns her castle into a gun fortress.
So she can get there in style, obviously. Also, I would assume because Pastel is her competition, she has to shoot her out of the sky.
Maybe. I've written down here, not even sure what this fight is about, but it's hilarious.
Because she has to be the most beautiful.
TwinBee wastes a significant amount of time on a gun that's clearly infinitely respawning every time he destroys it.
Yes.
It was a little bit frustrating to watch. It went on a little bit too long.
I was waiting for something to happen, but
nothing.
Even just for the gun to not respawn one time.
Yeah.
Or to come back a different gun.
Yeah. But Juliana activates her main attack. The disco strobe attack.
The spinning battle castle.
It's insane. It's like a disco beat and a strobe light.
I wasn't sure if the disco beat was part of it until it was made very obvious by the fact that no one could hear that she was, in fact, blasting this music.
Yeah. I just love that that's the attack. It's just a sensory overload. That's all it was.
And it was incredible. I love everything about this woman.
It's great. And meanwhile, down in the castle basement, the spinning ring that we saw earlier, which Mint is still staring at, starts glowing when the disco strobe attack happens.
I just love that Light is like, where is Mint when we need him? I was like, the baby?
Yeah.
You want the baby to come and save you?
And Gwynbee's trying to convince Mint to leave, but Mint just really wants to stare at this spinning ring. Mint's just vibing.
Just vibing. And inside of a spinning battle castle that's blasting house music, I would be too.
Yeah, who wouldn't? So Gwynbee takes the ring out of the mechanism.
But we don't know that yet.
No.
Because they come outside.
I feel like he hinted he was going to take it.
True. I think the camera hinted at it.
Yeah.
I think this is where I had paused for the night. So I had completely forgotten. And so I come back the next day. I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense.
We get an emotional, touching moment where Pastel thanks Light because he's being so supportive of her to win this beauty contest. And it's, it's like a tear fall. The music swells and she can't believe how supportive her big brother cousin is.
So we know that the
dreams.
ulterior motive is looming.
Yeah. I love Gwynbee finally shows up and they're like, where have you been? And then he tells them that he was inside the castle. And then TwinBee yells at him for not sabotaging the castle.
Yep.
Which he did.
We weren't aware that they did it, but they did.
He doesn't even know he did it.
He just pulls it out and he's like, look at this thing that we have. And then the castle explodes.
Yes, the castle tries to do the disco attack again, but with the ring missing, the castle just explodes instead. And bells rain down on the countryside.
In a beautiful column of jingling bells.
And then we see Juliana inside the exploding castle, vowing to reach the beauty contest and win it as the castle crashes into the ocean.
Before being buried in rubble and the castle crashes into the ocean.
And then that's just kind of the end of that plot.
For now.
And then the heroes, now that they have the bells, they go to the contest to meet Madoka and Marduk, who are waiting there for them.
Oh my god, Marduk is in the audience with his bazooka over his shoulder.
It's so funny.
It's so good.
The announcer robot.
I loved him.
Me too, he was great. He doesn't do that much, but he just looks fantastic.
Yeah, I was like, why? Okay, I don't need to ask questions. I love what I'm seeing.
He introduces Pastel, who isn't there yet. But then, and this I assume is the Russian doll moment that you mentioned. Yes.
Where TwinBee comes flying onto the stage, and then out pops Light, who is holding WinBee, and then out from WinBee pops Pastel into the limelight.
And this gets no reaction from the crowd, which is wild to me because you'd think at least like, oh.
Well, it gets a reaction from Warumon.
That's true, who's been waiting for this moment.
With his grabby arm.
So it's finally time for him to get this grabby arm out. Meanwhile, Marduk aims his gun at Pastel from the crowd.
And Madoka is mad that he's taking so long to aim.
Yeah, so because it's charging. We can see it charging.
Well, he's like visibly making I'm aiming noises. And he's saying something. I don't know what, but he's saying something, but it's taken too long. And Madoka nudges him, so he misfires and shoots a different contestant and turns her gigantic.
Yes, and her swimsuit rips off.
Yes. She is aghast.
She is now nude and screaming. And
crying.
At this moment, Warumon's giant mechanical arm reaches in to grab Pastel, only to be torn out of its placement by this naked girl so that she can cover herself with it.
And Warumon is so proud that he has a second grabbing arm.
Yes. But Madoka now Marduk's charging his gun again and he's pointing it directly at Pastel. But she's like, you need to aim more to the right this time, and drags his arm over. So he hits the contestant on the other side, who then does the same thing and tears off that arm too, to hide herself.
We should also note that as these women are becoming giant and naked, their final scores are going up.
Yes, the judges are very into it. Did you notice that the judges were all Konami cameos?
I didn't.
Yes, so these are the ones that I recognized. We had Goemon and his friend Ebisumaru. We had Dracula from Castlevania. He was there. And
how did I miss Dracula?
I don't know. But one of them, I think, was Vic Viper, the ship from Gradius, with a human head sticking out.
I love it.
And then there was another one who I could not place. If anybody knows who it is, please let me know. It was like a pink frog samurai guy with little tiny wings. I did not know who that was, but I'm sure, since everyone else on the panel was a Konami character, I'm sure he has to be as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Warumon just gives up. Now that both of his arms have been torn off. And this was the funniest scene in the show to me.
Yes, I really loved this meta comment on the show.
He gives up, he just like resigns himself to his loss, and he walks to the window to look at the sunset and laments what a small role they gave him in this show.
He admits that he didn't stand a chance because they spent so little time on it.
That he barely had any lines in this OVA.
And he should be grateful to appear at all.
It was so funny. And like the sad music that plays over it as well.
ご主人様
いったどうせうまくいくとは思ってなかったんだそういう役なんだ今回特に予算もなかったし空だってそれなりに綺麗だし
It was very good. I enjoyed it.
Marduk is ready to fire again.
But now Pastel does not want to be made giant,
yes,
because
Pastel,
she knows her clothes are going to explode off.
Pastel has connected the dots and realized that she's going to end up naked too, like the other girls did. But it's too late. She calls out for him to stop, and it's too late. He hits her. She returns to normal size.
And wins for being the nakedest.
Well, she's not even the nakedest. Does she win for just being the only normal-sized and naked girl?
No, I think it's just because she was both the cutest and also naked.
Okay. TwinBee runs in front of her to cover her up. TwinBee's still tiny at this point. And when Pastel wins the contest, she's crying.
Rightfully so.
Yes.
She's naked on a stage.
But Light is ecstatic because now he gets a bike.
Which we find out was the reward for winning the Miss Donburi contest.
And this was
But
his selfish motive all along.
Drive a motorcycle.
Yes. And this is the point where when she hears him say that, she immediately stops crying and has this like completely flat, even tone in her voice as she questions him. This
part was so good because she is rightfully furious and she charges into the audience. She kicks Marduk and takes his gun.
Yes. Also, the animation was so good.
It was so good.
On her rampage. Yeah, she takes the gun. She wraps herself in a towel. I didn't see where she got it from.
Light draped it around her.
Oh, that's right. When he realized she was angry, he grabs a towel and puts it around her while trying to calm her down. But I think she she pushes him away and then she dashes into the crowd to get the gun. I just keep thinking about the animation as she kicked Marduk because it was really good.
Yes, it was. Even I noticed that.
But she keeps missing Light. She hits multiple other girls who also grow and lose their clothes. And then she hits the bike.
Oh yeah, she hits the bike. But she does get Light in the end, and he bursts through the stage.
So this rampage is going on, and then it just cuts to outside. And it's really quiet. It's just a quiet shot of the outside of the building. And then Light's head, after a couple seconds, just quietly pops out the top. And he's just like, huh? It was very funny.
And then we get our final scene.
Yes.
Where Juliana has washed up on the beach, where Mint is for some reason.
Yes, with TwinBee. I guess they never left.
I guess not. They weren't interested in that contest.
No, we didn't see them at the contest. And Mint awards Juliana the coil from the castle generator, as she calls it. She recognizes it as being the coil from the castle generator, and they place it on her head like a beauty queen crown.
Which Mint says she can have because she's pretty.
Yeah, and then she cries on the beach as Mint and TwinBee leave. And then it's the credits. That's the end.
That's the credits.
And I really liked the ending theme. And something that I haven't really seen before is that over the credits, each voice actor actually announces their name along with the character they played.
I liked that. That was cute.
It was cute. The credits, behind the credits, we're seeing clips from the show.
That we just watched.
And I noticed that one of the clips is Pastel growing as her clothes tear off, being played in slow motion. It's the only clip that's in slow motion.
By that point, I had stopped paying attention because I was like, oh, I've seen these scenes already.
Yeah. No, I only noticed that one because I was like, why is this slow motion? Oh! It was pretty weird. It was a pretty weird thing to do.
Yeah. Pretty much everything that we just witnessed was weird.
I loved this show.
It was a wild ride, and I had a lot of fun.
It was very cute. There were a lot of good jokes in it. I love that the stakes were just like nothing. All the way through the whole show, there are no stakes.
It was exceptionally dumb, and I would watch it again.
Me too. I guess, really, there's not that much else to say about it. We've got the legacy section.
Oh, let's get into it.
Well, I already mentioned about how Queen Juliana appeared once more. That was in a Windows 95 game called TwinBee Paradise in Donburi Island. And she was the host of... Basically, it's a PC game where you just have a map of Donburi Island and you just click on different areas to go to those areas, and there are different activities you can do in different places.
Exciting!
And Queen Juliana was in charge of... I think she was in charge of like a cinema section where you could watch some clips from the anime.
Seems like a weird thing to put her in charge of. But
yeah,
okay.
well, she's, she wanted to do something.
I mean, she's awake. She might as well get a job.
And I think this show and the radio drama together kind of defined what the TwinBee series was for the rest of the 90s.
Which is madness.
I mean, this is definitely... I haven't really looked into any of the other episodes, but I think I do want to come back and look at some more of this at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they introduce any other characters.
No one will ever top Queen Juliana for me.
But this one was 1994, and the rest of the episodes of TwinBee Paradise were all 1998, so I'd be interested to see what changed in those 4 years, if anything.
What direction the series had gone in.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was great. I liked it.
I loved it.
I don't have much else to say about it.
No, we kind of spat all that out as we went along.
Yeah, there's no. I feel like I'm missing something because I haven't mentioned the dub at all. But like I said, there's just no dub to mention. It only ever
English
came
didn't
out.
want to touch this.
And I don't understand why, because it's great.
It is great, but I can understand it's pretty niche.
Yeah, but I mean, all anime was back then.
True.
And I
but
had to
this
I had
even
to do
more
a
so.
I had to do a mail order to get the Sonic OVA.
That's wild.
Yeah, they weren't selling it. Now you can buy it on DVD in regular stores, but what I had was the VHS tape, and I had to send away for it to a special company, ADV Films.
And that was Sonic the Hedgehog.
That was
and you're
Sonic
over
the
here
Hedgehog.
wondering why we aren't getting TwinBee,
What?
a game I didn't even know existed.
Well, yeah, all right. maybe if they
Sonic
had
has more universal appeal, but shmups, even in this day and age, are still very niche.
I guess so.
Every time I tell people about Toho, they're like, why would you play that? I can't even look at this. Because it's fucking fantastic.
Hey, I love looking at it. I'm scared to play it. I don't know how you do it, but I think that's just another case of like where I'm like, oh, well, Mel's just a genius at all things.
I'm not. I cannot beat most of them on normal because I don't have the patience to sit there and get good at them.
Oh, you should have seen me trying to play Mean Bean Machine on stream last night.
I can only dream.
I was getting my ass beat by easy mode Grounder.
A former friend of the show. We are no longer friends with Grounder.
Why not? What did he do? Has he been cancelled?
He's been showing his butt crack too much.
Sending all these butt pics to unsolicited women. You know what I meant, though.
I do, but you said it in the worst way possible.
Unsolicited women. Like he didn't choose these women.
Those butt pics were supposed to go to anyone but them.
Thanks for joining us on this trip, everybody. I hope we create some TwinBee fans, some B-mates.
B-mates.
B-mates for
so that
life.
we can all infiltrate the underground society together.
I might go and buy a bell.
Just one.
Attach it to my armpit.
By the hairs?
Yeah.
Gross.
Well, you got a better idea?
Like a cowbell situation.
How's that going to go in my armpit?
like a purse strap, but it just dangles in your armpit.
Perfect. Sell those at Target.
No one's gonna want to pay money to us after that.
If you want to donate money to this, patreon.com/Super Breakfast Friends Club, and you can get exclusive snippets of conversations I cut from the episode for being stupid and irrelevant to the show.
And you're paying money to listen to them.
For the price of just not enjoying a sweet, delicious coffee, you could give us that money.
You can regret one decision.
Hey, we all know you're going to regret some others today. Why not start with this one?
Where can they talk to you with voices or text?
Nowhere. Go away. You can send us a message on YouTube or on Twitter, where it's sbreakfastfc is the Twitter.
Good job.
You could probably just go on Twitter and just type in Super Breakfast Friends Club, and that would probably work too. But I just like
You
to
could
say
probably
that.
type in the dumb, stupid show that my ears just witnessed, and we'll come up.
Yeah, the algorithm's amazing. Listen, all these sites are connected and they're sharing all your data. It probably would. It probably knows.
Yeah. Like when you go literally anywhere and you get an ad for something you were just talking about to somebody, and it listened to your conversation, and now it's trying to sell you foxtail butt plugs.
Yeah. Who hasn't been there? If you didn't like listening to it wherever you listen to this, you can also find it at YouTube or Spotify or iTunes. And also, we should apologize to Google Podcast listeners, because last time we made fun of the idea that nobody uses Google Podcasts, and like immediately afterwards, we got our first listener on Google Podcasts.
We are sorry to the state of Missouri for what we did.
TwinBee is set 300 years in the future. Did you know that?
This is a strange time to bring that up.
Yeah, it's kind of fact that would have been good to put during the episode at some point, huh?
Yeah. Imagine that.
Yeah. Oh well.
Bye!
Bye! You can send a letter of complaint to my bunghole.
P.O. Box